Welcome to our webinar on everything you didn't know you could do with partner data. Let's briefly go over the topic before we introduce ourselves. There is so much you can do with your partner data as long as you make sure it doesn't just sit in your PEP for your eyes and your eyes only. We're going to talk about how you can effectively get your partner data into the tools that your GTM teams use most, from your marketing team to your sales team to your medieval live action role-playing team. Slightly kidding about that last one. Something you should know, unless you are in a hybrid partnerships and analytics role, and if you are, huge props to you, that is awesome, then you will likely need the support of your analytics or partner ops person to help implement some of the things we're about to talk about. But the good news is these workflows are super easy to implement, and we have a really special guest here to help demystify them. So, how is everyone feeling? I think we should do a little warm-up. Come on, Matt. This is going to be a really exciting webinar. We're really happy that you're here. Let's get into it. So, I am the senior staff writer here at Crossbeam. My name is Olivia Ramirez. This is our special guest, Matt Nicosia, Director of Growth. Matt spends every day distilling down our data to uncover smart ways for us to work and grow Crossbeam at scale.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this, Olivia. Thank you. I've been with Crossbeam for 3 years, and in that time, I've worked on a bunch of different things. I had my hands in all kinds of different stuff, but I think one of my favorite things that I've worked on is something that we started about 6 months ago, and that's using Crossbeam the way that our customers use Crossbeam. As we really started to ramp up our own partner program, we started to get this data into our data warehouse and then push it back out into all these different tools and use it in really cool ways. So it's a lot that we can talk about here, and I just think it's super cool.
So let's go through an overview of what exactly we're going to talk about. First, we'll go through some data flows, how exactly you can get your partner data into the tools your GTM teams use. Then we'll talk about a bunch of use cases with examples for how to action that partner data in those tools. Then we're going to have a little improv sesh where Matt will go through the integrations page of one of his favorite reverse ETL tools, Census, and come up with use cases on the fly to help get the creative juices flowing. So if you were wondering if this webinar is going to be recorded, the answer is yes, it actually already was recorded. This is Olivia from the past. In the chat over there, or there, or there is Olivia from the present, here to answer any questions that you might have. We also have a lot of great people attending this webinar who likely have some awesome perspectives and answers for you as well, so keep an eye on the chat. Additionally, you'll see our content marketing manager, Hannah, dropping links in the chat for some of the things we're about to talk about. We've written a bunch of articles on these topics, so hopefully you can take a read, and if you have more questions, maybe find some answers there as well. So in order to do the things we're about to talk about, you need to have access to meaningful partner data. This is where Crossbeam comes in. So Crossbeam is a partner ecosystem platform, a PEP, that allows you to see who your overlapping customers and prospects are with all of your partners at scale in real time. Through our partner cloud, you can integrate Crossbeam with tools like HubSpot, Salesforce, Snowflake, and a whole lot more. You can also integrate with ETL tools, which we'll talk about in a bit, and these help you analyze your partner data alongside data from other data sources. From there, you can also use reverse ETL. This is where things get really fun. You can become a superhero for all of your GTM teams. I promise you, it can happen.
Yeah, what's super important here to point out is these ETL integrations. It's part of our partner cloud, and there's a lot out there that we enable. But core to what we're going to talk about today is this ETL stuff. It allows you to take your partner data from Crossbeam and out into whatever data warehouse you use. So right now we've got Talend, which is Stitch, Matillion, and Ringlead, but we're also working on a 5-train integration as well.
So getting your partner data into your PEP is the first step. It is a great first step, but it is merely that, a first step. Once you know where your opportunities exist with partners, a lot of the work can become very manual. You might have to inform who your CSM should reach out to. You are likely asking them to put in more of a lift than they need to. For example, if you know that you have overlapping customers with a tech partner and you ask your CSMs to reach out to all of them to see if anyone is interested, you're asking your CSMs to do a lot of work that they likely don't want to do. And you're not narrowing that list down to see who would be the most interested in adopting these integrations. Does it make sense at this point in time and at this point in the customer journey? So instead, you should be pushing your partner data into the tools that these teams use every day. In the example that I mentioned on the last slide, you can use data sources like product usage and event data and partner data to understand what tools exist in your customer's tech stack. Would they potentially adopt this integration? Are they at the right point in the customer journey? Have they completed specific activities that signal that this is the right time to adopt and use the integration? And then you can create automated messages to reach out to those customers in app or through email outreach. And you can actually get those customers to approach your CSMs wanting to adopt the integration. So that alleviates a lot of the lift for your internal teams. So we wanted to give you a little bit of visibility into our data stack. This is how we get partner data into our entire tech stack. It might look a little overwhelming. If you brought your analytics or ops person with you, they're probably leaning in close, looking at all of the boxes and lines and taking it all in and seeing how it all works. Luckily, we have Matt to help demystify this data stack a little bit for us.
Yeah, I apologize for that being kind of a mess. This is a bit of a Frankenstein built over the years, but this is actually how our data stack works. And as we continue to add pieces to it, it gets a little bit messier. But what I think is really important to point out here is that Crossbeam logo up there. That is us using Crossbeam as a data source, same as everything else that's over there. So you can see Outreach, Salesforce, HubSpot, Intercom. Those are all kinds of tools that put data into our system. You can see everything's flowing into the middle there, which is Stitch. That's our ETL tool. Pull it down, we move it into Snowflake, which is our data warehouse, run a bunch of analytics on it using dbt, and then we push it back out into what I call our front-end data systems. So that's Mode, our data visualization tool, and Census, which is our reverse ETL tool. And so you can see I've highlighted kind of the flow of data specific to Crossbeam. It makes its way in there using that ETL process. And then you join it with all this other information that you have across the rest of your organization. But what's super exciting, I think, is pushing it back out into those tools that the rest of your company is using, the sort of things that they're in every day.
Yeah, Frankenstein is pretty misunderstood, I think, and he's actually a really friendly monster. So I'm glad that you're here to help show us how accessible this data stack can be and how it can actually open up a lot of doors. So we mentioned ETL and reverse ETL a few times. It's likely that a lot of you know what these terms mean, but we thought it would be good to define them for everybody before we move on.
Yep, ETL is a concept that's been around for a little while. It's just a core part of any modern data stack. It stands for extract, transform, and load. Basically, any data that you have that's out there in all these disparate systems, your ETL tool is going to standardize it, put it in a format that your data warehouse can handle. Then it pulls it down and puts it in your data warehouse. Reverse ETL is a little bit newer. It's kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's taking all that data that's in your data warehouse once you've done all these transformations and analytics on it, and you push it back out into any tool that your teams are using. So like I mentioned, Salesforce or HubSpot or Intercom. It allows you to push this data, the insights that your analytics team or your growth team or whatever is identifying. You can then make that readily available for any team. And so partner data is a huge piece of that. It allows us to do exactly what we do with product usage or marketing data. Partner data now has that seat at the table too.
Exactly. So here's a little visual to help simplify ETL and reverse ETL. On the top, you have ETL with partner data as a data source and other data coming into the ETL tool and then into your data warehouse for analysis alongside all of those data sources. And then on the bottom is reverse ETL, same process. And then after the data warehouse, that goes into the reverse ETL tool and into your sales, revenue, and product stack. So with ETL, as I mentioned, and as Matt mentioned, you bring your data into your data warehouse. We wanted to give you a quick view of our data analytics dashboard mode and help you see some of the insights that you can uncover through the ETL process. So Matt, can you share a little bit about what insights are present in this dashboard?
Yep. Yeah, this is a dashboard that one of my colleagues, Sanket Heda, built for our partner team. And dashboards certainly have their place. They're very, very useful, and this is something that the partner team is in every day. It allows them to see that information that's being generated in Crossbeam and kind of slice and dice, if you will, their way to understanding the effectiveness of the programs that they're rolling out. So if they want to know, this integration that we're thinking about building, now we're partnered with that partner in Crossbeam, and we can understand how many overlapping accounts we have, like that really basic stuff. You can really dive into it using a data visualization tool and totally customize the way that it's shown and all that. So it certainly has its uses, but as you're going to get into, I think there's some much, much cooler stuff you can do.
So here's another example of a dashboard. This is one that Seismic, a sales enablement platform, uses, and it's powered by Domo, another data visualization tool. So here they're bringing in data from their CRM and partner data, and they are able to see potential co-selling opportunities to bring in partner sourced revenue, and so on. And all of this is tied to revenue, as you can see in the dashboard. This helps them, as in the partnerships team, get super strategic about next moves. And from there, they can talk to their GTM teams to engage them with particular partners. So this is where a lot of people's heads will go first. This dashboard is super helpful to the partnerships team. And now we're going to talk about the reverse ETL component and how you can bring some of this data into other tools in your tech stack. Let's talk about reverse ETL. So we're going to go through 6 use cases about reverse ETL and how to bring partner data into the tools your teams use. These should serve as a jumping off point. There are endless possibilities about what you can do with partner data in any tool that you're using. So I hope this serves as inspiration for you. Use case number 1, identifying beta testers and early adopters for your integrations. This is a really, really big one because those early adopters are going to be your biggest advocates for your integrations. They're going to be the ones contributing to case studies and encouraging adoption for all of your customer base. Reverse ETL can help you identify the best beta testers or early adopters and have some of those customers come to your CSMs interested and asking to be involved. So we put together an example using an in-app messaging tool called Intercom. We know that this particular customer is using the Tech Partners tool as part of their tech stack. We also know things like how active they are in our product. Maybe we know how active they are in our Tech Partners product. We know some of the activities they've completed in our product. We think this is the right time for them to be involved in this integration and that they would achieve a lot of value from it. So in this message, we're inviting them to try out the integration. And from here, they can simply reply and then engage with our CSMs or another member of the team.
I think what's interesting about this too is you may be saying, well, we can already do that. That's what we use Crossbeam for, is to identify, potential beta customers. But what we're specifically talking about here is the automation of it, the fact that you can kind of do it at scale and let these tools do all this for you. So as Olivia mentioned, Intercom in this case has access to specific event data thanks to Segment. So in our case, it might be something like when a user exports a report. Well, we got that event data. So that's one of the triggers. Then we have some certain criteria they also need to meet. We use product usage data to understand whether they're actively using the product. Would they be a good beta customer? So that's one piece. But then the partner data comes in. And again, like we mentioned, now you've got partner data going back out into all of these tools, including Intercom. And that tells you that not only did this user just take the action you're interested in, and they are an active user, but they also are a customer of this, hypothetical company called Amaga. And with all that, Intercom can do your job for you. It can just say, we're building out this potential beta. Are you interested in trying it out? Rather than having to coordinate all that back and forth between your product team, your product marketing team, your customer success team.
Yeah, To confirm, this is not a robot taking over the job of your employees. We still need your employees, but this helps alleviate their work and helps them hit their goals faster.
Yep. At
Just
some
clarifying.
point, robots will take all our jobs, but not yet.
So, use case number 2, knowing where to invest your dev team's time and resources. So, for this one, let's use an example with Amplitude, a product analytics tool. Amplitude also has an integration with Census, which is really helpful. If your product team runs analytics in Amplitude, it would be super beneficial for them to see partner data alongside other stats like product usage. For example, they'll see, obviously, which of your customers are also customers of your tech partners. And they can also look at how are the integrations that those customers have adopted impacting in-app behavior, impacting feature usage, which features are getting more activity from users because of specific integrations, all kinds of things like that. Matt, what comes to mind for you when you think about bringing partner data into a tool like Amplitude?
Yeah, I think with Amplitude, it's like that's a tool that your product team is probably in every day, and there's all different kinds of examples of this for different functions across your company. But for product teams, they use Amplitude for a variety of different ways, and it's really sort of like their jump-off point to really dig into user experience and who's using the product and how actively and what are they doing, all that kind of stuff. So bringing partner data in is just sort of adding to that 360 customer profile. And it allows you to segment all the things that you would typically do on data that you previously didn't have. I know we talk a lot about it, calling it like second party data. And that's exactly what this is now your your product team now has access to this second party data, and it allows them to kind of look through all this and start segmenting it in a way that they previously wouldn't have. And the really nice thing about this is rather than you having to push these insights onto them as a partner team, they're going to be pulling from it instead. They're going to come to you and say, hey, I noticed that some of our most active users are doing X, Y, or Z with our partners. And they can come to you and sort of start that conversation, which is nice that you don't have to constantly being the one to prompt this stuff.
Yeah, so product will essentially have proof of the impact of your integrations. And like Matt said, you can have your teams coming to you with ideas for your integrations and your tech ecosystem, which is huge. So here we put together an example of an internal message from a product manager reaching out to their partnerships manager. They've seen a lot of success with a particular integration, and on the side, they've been thinking about investing in a particular feature that ties in really nicely with that integration. And because of that success, now they're investing in the feature and they are excited to drive adoption for the feature and the integration in tandem. So this is just one example about how they can use this data and come to you with ideas. They can also see opportunities to expand use cases for your integrations that are doing really well and driving up product usage, or fix bugs that an integration might have if they see that a lot of people are using it and it needs to be worked on. So this is a really great way to make the workflow of partnerships among your teams bidirectional. So use case number 3, co-selling with partners at specific stages of the sales cycle. So you likely have some idea of what kinds of partners can help at what parts of the sales cycle. For example, maybe your tech partners are really great at team selling with your sales reps if your prospect is also a prospect of your tech partner. Or maybe your SI partners are really, really strong when you have a prospect that is in the RFP stage with your SI partner. So you can bring partner data into your CRM and you can set up automation or triggers that happen when an account shifts from one stage of the sales cycle to another, either in your CRM or in your partners, which is really cool. Matt, how could someone implement something like this?
Yeah, I think what's really important to point out here is that a lot of times people are going to be thinking about just like the same use case we've been mentioning so far, like somebody is a customer of one of our partners, but it can go so much deeper than that, depending on how healthy your data sharing is with your partner. If they're sharing a lot of information with you, that can make its way back in all these tools like you were just describing. So in this case, I think it would be really, really neat if you had like a co-selling playbook with some, specific partners that when a prospect that you're both working on reaches not just a stage in your sales cycle, but a stage in your partner's sales cycle, some triggered automation might happen in your outreach tool or something like that. That really just kind of gets at somebody exactly at the right time when they're thinking about that sort of stuff.
So here's an example of setting up automated messaging in Outreach. In this example, there is a sales rep who's looping in their partner and reaching out to a prospect. In the past, they spoke with the prospect about the partner's tool, and it's the right time where the prospect would be ready to potentially adopt both tools. There are tons of things you can do with this. This is just one example. You can also set up automated messaging to reach out to a partner, to engage them, to help support the account. So this is another example of using partner data in your sales or marketing dashboard. This is from a case study that our senior product marketing manager, Jasmine, published with our customer, Everflow. So Everflow's partnerships team set this up so that their marketing and sales team has access. They can set up co-marketing campaigns with partners. They can track partners' engagement in each stage, in each lifecycle stage, conversion rates from integration trials and things like that. By setting up this dashboard and having partners in the tools that their teams are using, they were able to decrease enterprise deal cycles by 4 months. So this just shows that you can bring partner data into any of your tools. All of your GTM teams can take advantage of this. Use case number 4 is custom tailoring your customer's in-app experience. So all of your users have different ways of using your platform. They all have different business goals, different tech stacks. Some like dogs, some like cats. Me personally, I like both. Their experience should be different, and you should be encouraging 100% adoption of their entire tech stack. And by that, I mean you should know which integrations are most impactful for them, and you should be encouraging adoption of all of them. So let's use Pendo as an example here. Pendo is a product experience software and another census integration. So you'll see in the image that we've put together a little flow chart, and if a customer is also a customer of a tech partner, they might be prompted to adopt that particular integration and go through a different product journey than someone who is a customer of a different tech partner. Matt, when you think about a tool like Pendo, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, this is very near and dear to my heart. Working on the growth team, we do a lot of different kind of like in-app experience projects and really try to improve that entire journey so that it's very personalized to every user. Like you mentioned, maybe they like dogs, maybe they like cats. In this particular case, we're talking about if you as a partner team are really focused on integrations, that's obviously got a lot to do with a user's product experience, the integrations they can and should install. So if you know that they are a specific customer of one of your integrations, but not of another, you know what you should be highlighting. And in this self-serve world where we're trying to do as much of this as possible within the app, you can build these kind of in-app experiences and really tailor somebody's experience to the sort of products that you already know that they're using. Like you mentioned in this flowchart, if they are a customer, then you do, maybe surface the fact that this integration exists and try to get them to install it earlier. If they're not, maybe you mention it later, but it's not a core part of their process. So, that is again using like are they a customer or not kind of example, but any data that your partner is sharing about that user or that company can personalize their in-app experience, which is probably just something that your product or growth teams haven't even thought about before.
Yeah, it's also really important to have conversations with your partner and also maybe get data about product usage from your partner's side. Mm-hmm. Maybe these customers are customers of your tech partners, but maybe you're trying to engage the sales team and actually the marketing team is a customer of your tech partner or something like that. You should know how active these customers are with your tech partner's products so that you can thoughtfully engage them in your product.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe it's not enough to just be a customer. We talk a lot about PQL scores, product qualified leads. It's basically just a measure of product usage. And if your partner is sharing that with you, then even if they are a customer but they have a low product usage, maybe you decide not to have them go down that path in the flow.
Mm-hmm. So another idea for how to action this is using partner data to fill in your welcome dashboard. So on the screen, you'll see a bunch of CTAs. Maybe you're trying to get your users to build reports or invite users to the platform. If you know that they're customers of your tech partners and they have good customer health with your tech partner, then maybe one of those CTA buttons should be, would you like to adopt this integration? Would you like to connect this tool?
Yep.
We all know that integration adoption impacts retention and churn. I wanted to share this stat with you guys because I really like this one. I talked to Freshworks earlier this year, and they told me that their customers are 30% less likely to churn when they've adopted one integration and 60 to 80% less likely to churn when they've adopted 5 or more. We have a whole article on this topic that I talked to Freshworks about and how to calculate churn for yourself. If you need to look at that, we're going to put that in the chat. But the earlier that you can drive adoption, the better. The more value your customer will see on the front end of your customer journey.
Mm-hmm.
Also, sometimes it's not about earlier, but it's at the right time. So thinking about that product usage and where they're at in the product, what activities are they completing, what are their goals right now, all of that data can really help inform how to fill in a dashboard like this or the flowchart example.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of times people refer to it as like you want to show somebody the view from the mountain before they've done the climb. And if you know that they are all about a specific integration that you've built, or at least that tool, you can show them that integration early on and be like, if you do just a little bit of work up front to onboard, this integration is really, really cool and it's available to you or something like that.
yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention is you could bring your partner data into the tools your CSMs are using, and they could use that data to help fuel integration roadmaps for their new or existing customers. So they can see like which are the most impactful integrations to recommend to these customers. What order should I have them adopt these in? How will the effects of these integrations compound? Here's an example of an integration roadmap from Rollworks where they adopted particular integrations at different stages of the customer journey for a particular customer. Speaking of churn, the next use case is preventing churn and influencing upsells. So one more quick Freshworks example. I spoke with a senior CSM on their team, and they said that working with partners has helped him retain customers who were very likely to churn, upsell those accounts for more ARR, and sign them for multi-year deals. That's pretty cool. So if you're having trouble getting buy-in, you should definitely share stories like these from a partner's perspective and also from the CSM's perspectives. Hearing it from someone who's in their shoes, in the CSM shoes, could be really impactful. We have some interesting articles on this about how to shift your mindset when talking to different GTM teams in terms that resonate with them about their goals and how they think and work. So we'll drop some of those articles in the chat, and hopefully that can help, as well as some of these workflows that we're about to share. So Matt, when you think about preventing churn and potentially upselling accounts for CSMs, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically what CSMs do all day is along with trying to make people obviously successful. They're constantly seeing whether somebody is close to becoming a churn risk. And best-in-class CSM teams are going to be utilizing product usage data and that sort of stuff. Probably already have some level of this pipeline built out, where in the tool that they're using, probably Salesforce or potentially Churn Zero or something like that, they're able to see whether an account is actively using the product, what their health score is. I already talked about PQL score. If you've got that, that's probably in there. Anything that helps them understand how they're using the product. When you throw partner data into the mix, it provides this really cool new additional layer. And again, going back to that 360-degree concept, it's just another way for that team to utilize this partner data to help them better do their job. So I like to think about it as like maybe somebody is starting to show declining health as far as their usage in the app goes. CSM picks up on that, and thanks to partner data that now lives in Salesforce or Churn Zero, they're able to also see that they are a customer of one of your tech partners, but they have not adopted the integration. And you can kind of use that as like a carrot almost to dangle in front of them to sort of get them back on board and incentivize them to maybe even take a call with you if they've gone totally cold. You could say, look, this is an integration that is part of our paid tier, but maybe you offer 30 days free to them or something just to try to get them back on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can use all of this data to really inform your CSM's next steps, whether it's through automation like this, or if it is a sensitive account, maybe you're informing a one-to-one conversation between the CSM and the account. Also, if they're likely to churn, you're probably not going to want to automate in-app messaging. You're probably going to want to automate email outreach or something like that.
Yep.
By the way, Matt, I don't think we covered which tools you're in every day. Is it like 20% Pokemon Go, 80% World of Warcraft, or something like that?
Yeah. Back in the day, Pokemon Go. I used to just hang out at Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia, just waiting for that Pikachu or whatever.
So we put together an example for this use case where a CSM is reaching out to a customer in HubSpot. They know that the customer is likely to churn because of a variety of data, and they know that the customer is also a customer of a tech partner. So here they're recommending they adopt the integration and give it a try for 3 months for free. And this is likely to drive a lot of value for this customer. So this is a great way to automate some of this outreach using reverse ETL. The last use case number 6, accelerating onboarding and activation. The faster your users or customers get value and the better results they see, the more satisfied they'll be as customers, the better customer health they'll have. All of that compounds and contributes to retention and preventing churn. So we've been talking a little bit about this idea of co-onboarding, which is really, really exciting. Matt, do you want to introduce everybody to this idea?
Yeah, I know that you and the team had written a bit of an article or a blog post on this, and conceptually, it's actually surprising we've never talked about it because co-marketing and co-selling, I think, are pretty well-known concepts. But if you take that idea and push it further down your funnel, co-marketing and selling are all about, like kind of top of funnel, or like if you're talking about selling, it's obviously bottom of funnel most of the time. But this onboarding concept is like smack dab right at the beginning of the product funnel. And there's a way that you can do exactly what you would do in co-marketing and co-selling, just specifically kind of CSM focused. So earlier we talked about how Pendo could potentially change the in-app kind of self-serve experience based on partner data. Well, this is tackling that same problem just from a different angle. We're applying a human element to it and still using partner data. So if you get a new company that signs a deal and now you have a CSM for them, or if it's more of like a self-serve product and you have kind of like your customer success specialists, as we call them, they might really get a lot of benefit from having one of your partner CSMs included in that first conversation. It might really help open the door and get you in there and sort of just grease the skids as far as that relationship goes. Typically, you don't talk about relationships and greasing skids, so try to ignore that part. But I like to think about it like
Too difficult to ignore.
Yeah, I like to think about it like a party. Like if you show up to a party by yourself, it's kind of hard to talk to other people. But if you go there and you know somebody who then knows everybody else, it just gets you in, and it's so much easier to meet everybody else.
Yeah, you probably don't want to be that person that's just making eye contact, looking at the ground, making eye
Yeah.
contact.
Yeah, I usually
Things
go
can
to
get
parties.
awkward.
I talk about greasing skids. It works really well.
Like Matt mentioned, we just published an article on this idea of co-onboarding, and it talks about how to improve activation and onboarding with partners through activation velocity and partner data. As a quick example, if you and your tech partner are onboarding the same customer around the same time, your tech partner can include your product as part of their kickoff meeting for the customer. Your tech and channel partners can also help educate the customers about use cases they might not be thinking about, or help guide them through those early activities that they need to hit their first milestone. So we've made it through all 6 use cases. Now we want to put this knowledge to the test, and we're going to have a little improv session where we're going to scroll through some of Census's integrations. Census, we've mentioned a few times, it's Matt's favorite reverse ETL tool. And the reason we wanted to do this is because, like we mentioned at the top of this webinar, there are endless possibilities using reverse ETL. So Matt is going to look through these a little bit and come up with use cases on the fly.
Yeah, we keep talking about Census. We're a customer of theirs, have a great relationship. I'm a huge fan. And I, like you said, I just think it's important to just like look through here and realize how many different tools your, folks on your teams, so your marketing team or your product success or your product team, your customer success, all of them, they're probably in these tools every day. And if you know how powerful partner data is, but they have no idea, just imagine what it would be like if you could get it in there. So like your paid marketing team, for example, they're probably using Facebook ads. Everybody knows the pixel is kind of dying, but the second party data that you get from your partners can replace that. And now you can get really specific on the segmentation you're doing on your ads. If we keep scrolling through here, let's see what else we got. Drift is a lot like Intercom. You could use the same idea. A lot of that 360-degree type concept, more ads. I think customer, is all about like customer success. We brought up a bunch of those. MailChimp is a good one if you've got an email marketing team that really focuses on that, or like, you could, maybe your newsletter is run out of MailChimp, and you could get very specific in your newsletter about what articles you're bringing up in the newsletter, depending on who they're a customer of or something like that. Even all the way down at the bottom here, I know Census uses or has Zapier as one of their destination integrations too. And just like Zapier has hundreds of different apps that they connect to. You start thinking about there's literally hundreds of possibilities of ways that you can, automate workflows and get the rest of your team to just have partner data in the things that they use every day. The possibilities are just kind of endless. And I feel like, what we talked about here are some really cool ideas, but it barely scratches the surface. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what everybody else comes up with that we didn't even think of.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully this served as a jumping off point, and you've hopefully been coming up with some creative ideas even during this webinar. Really, you can bring partner data into every single tool that you use, and you get really creative about what you do with it. So really excited to see what you guys end up doing. If you do have some cool results from doing some of this stuff, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to hear about it. And if you have additional questions, you can reach myself or Matt on LinkedIn. We'll also try to get back to you about any questions that were in the chat that maybe we didn't get to.
Yep.
So thank you guys so much.
Yep.
Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you at the next one.
I'm serious. I want to hear what you're doing with partner data. Reach out to us. I could geek out about it all the time. So thanks, y'all.